Welcome, everybody, and thank you for joining us today for our Inception webinar. Today, we're going to be talking about bringing order and speed to the B2B order process. We're going to be covering things like B2B ordering challenges and the value of modernizing, digitizing, and just overall streamlining those processes. So a lot of great content to cover. The webinar is being recorded, and we'll make it available for you afterwards for replay. We are monitoring chat, so feel free to ask any questions you have, and we'll address as many as we can at the end. And if we run out of time, we'll just follow up with you individually. So let's get started. I'm Jennifer Roberts, Senior Vice President of Marketing at Inception, and I'm really excited to spend the next 20 minutes having a one-on-one conversation with Dugan Baker, our VP of Strategic Accounts at Inception. Dugan here is focused on driving the growth of Inception's digital commerce business and working with our customers and prospects daily to help them adopt digital technology and processes to help them solve the business challenges they're facing and just being able to sell online and growing their business. I love Dugan's background. It's really impressive as he's led some fun, key digital commerce transformation projects. And we'll all recognize those company names, but I don't want to steal any of his thunder. So we look forward to hearing directly from him on these real-world experiences, solving these challenges. We'll hear about lessons learned, the overall value of just digital transformation in this space, and things like reducing order errors, saving time on just processing those orders, and better serving the end buyer, all things we, of course, want to do within our business.
Thanks, Jennifer. Really looking forward to sharing a couple of things with you guys today. My name is Dugan Baker, as Jennifer said. I'm the Vice President of Strategic Accounts here at Inception. I'm really excited to walk through a couple things with you, as I said. My background, previous to being at Inception, I worked at Nike for about 21 years, mostly in the digital space, but I spent a lot of time in sales, customer service, and as I said earlier, in the digital space. Most recently, I worked with our what they call digital wholesale third-party platform development. So basically, we were a consulting service to our partners who sold Nike products in the digital space. And then after that, I also worked on a platform called Nike.net, which is Nike's version of a B2B selling website. And I'll go into a few more examples of what we did there and some of the things that Nike did. But what's most exciting is when I look at what Inception's doing, a lot of the things that Nike did are the same things that Inception's doing and also on the roadmap for our development.
Awesome. Well, on that note, what did attract you to Inception?
Yeah, I think what I like most about Inception is that it was really founded to give digital power and advantages to companies and businesses of all sizes that are normally typically only available to much larger organizations. You think about these huge, massive enterprise corporations. And also at the same time, when you look at what Gartner and some other companies are forecasting to happen in the B2B space over the next 2 to 5 years, I think Inception is perfectly poised and perfectly in position to take advantage of that shift in business. I also really feel like a lot of these companies that are forecasting this digital shift in the next 3 to 4 or 5 years, I think that's going to shrink quickly. I think you see what has happened over the last, call it 6 to 24 months with economic shifts, with COVID. I really believe you're going to see this tipping point happen potentially in the next 8 to 12 or 24 months at the longest. I think it's going to move a lot quicker than people predict. Also, when I was at Nike, I think some of my most rewarding time was when I worked on the Nike.net platform. For personally, my history, I come from a family of small businesses. My grandfather owned a menswear store back in the day when there weren't department stores. You couldn't go with your son or daughter to Gap and JCPenney or wherever and buy them clothes for school. You literally had to go to the menswear store and do the measuring thing and get suited up for school. My grandmother owned a bar. My father was an inventor. He owned a couple small businesses, worked in a machine shop. So I've always had a love for small business. And I really think when you look at the shift that's happened, both socially and economically in the last few months, there's a heavy move to support small and medium businesses. You see a lot more people heavily focused on supporting local, buying from handcrafted businesses, buying from local businesses, And I really think that's going to fuel innovation, not just in the digital space, but in product altogether over the next few years. But at the same time, these small businesses need the ease and access that digital provides. And when you look at what digital has done over the last year and a half, it has really evened the playing field for a lot of these smaller companies. Then you layer in social media, which has truly democratized access to customers for any kind of brand out there. And I think that's where Inception can step in, is we can kind of help fill that gap from, maybe you're a small or medium business, you're doing some of your own marketing and social, and really don't know how to take that next step. For us, it's about powering up that digital transformation, regardless of what stage of business they're in. And I think when I look back to some of my time at Nike, that was some of the most rewarding. I worked with shops from, the tiniest little running specialty shop in San Francisco, one door, 2 or 3 employees, doing a decent amount of business a year, but then all the way up to some of their bigger businesses like Foot Locker, Dick's Sporting Goods, Finish Line, those massive border companies. Inception can do the same thing. And whether we're working with a huge HVAC company or a small handcrafted metal sign company that's making 101 products, we really can help those companies get to the next step of their digital expansion, particularly ones that have started and are really on the cusp of that next phase of growth when you look at digital.
Yeah, I mean, advocating for those businesses and customers is so important and so valuable. Dugan, what are you seeing just the state of B2B selling today? I mean, are lots adopting it? Are they running into certain challenges?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I think one thing that's kind of hard, particularly for people who are in the B2B space, is it can be an often overused and misunderstood term. But as I referenced earlier, I really believe that it's on the precipice of a massive, massive tipping point. I think you're going to see a huge shift of older, more established businesses that want to move into the digital space very quickly, as well as a lot of these, younger, maybe smaller businesses that are ready to take that next step, get into the B2B selling space pretty quickly. As I said earlier, I think Inception is perfectly poised to help those businesses, whether they be big or small, move into that space. I also see a little bit of a unclear shift on your traditional D2C consumers or shoppers or manufacturers trying to move into the B2B space. It's not really an easy process. And previous to Inception's products coming to market, there wasn't really an easy way for companies to be able to make that digital transformation and open up more channels of business for them.
Right. So I've heard you say several times there's 3 really critical fundamental things to keep in mind when selling in this B2B space, because it is different than B2C. Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yeah, for sure. I think first, I always have these 3 things in mind, but no matter what I do when I'm looking at something like this, you have to run it through one filter. Whether you're looking at being a manufacturer, whether you're selling software, you have to think about what your customer needs and then stop. That's it. That's all, nothing else. When you look at the most successful companies in any space, in any industry, they have a relentless focus on what their customers need. And when B2B gets layered in, that customer may not be an end consumer. So we could be talking about unfinished goods that we're moving through a process, or parts that are part of a bigger piece, or building materials, or anything like that. So when you look at B2B, you're not actually talking or thinking about who is the person that's going to maybe use this end product, but who is the manufacturer, or who is the builder, or who is the goods producer that we're selling to. And I think if you always keep that in mind, what does your customer need? The rest is easy after that. But the 3 points within that I always try and run everything through is you have to be easy to do business with. And for us at Inception, that's all about reducing friction, having multiple methods of order entry, also being open 24 hours a day. I mean, you look at some of the older order entry methods, particularly in some industries, you're reliant on a rep or a 1-800 number to call in and get more wood, or to get a filter or replacement wheels or parts. When you're working with a smaller business, perhaps one of your distributors or an end goods creator, they don't have normal business hours. Some of them are very small businesses, some of them are medium-sized businesses, but you, in a lot of these scenarios, have an owner or an operations manager or a warehouse manager that at the end of the day is going through their list, and they say, oh shoot, I got to order 100 more filters. At 8 o'clock at night on the West Coast, anyone on the East Coast is probably already made their way towards bed. So you can't actually get a hold of someone. With this platform, you can be open 24/7 with your customers, whether they're end consumers or whether they're customers who are part of your distribution network. So that's first for me, is you've got to be easy to do business with. The second is increased profitability. Now, when you look at profitability, to me, this isn't just about charging more for a product. It's looking at everything that goes into place when you move a product or ship a product. There's things like time, data integrity, automation. It's not just sheerly the cost of goods. It's how many people have to touch an order, how many people have to go pick an order. How do we even be sure that we have enough inventory to fill this order? So all of those little pieces come together for a much bigger look at overall profitability. So when I look at profitability, again, it's not, do I charge $10 more per unit? It's how do I reduce the number of times my employees have to check on something or click into something or go print something. And that, when you look at data integrity, can be huge, because something like a price being wrong or a unit of measure being wrong in any one source system has a massive effect downstream on your profitability. Because if there's an issue or an error and someone goes in, maybe they don't even find it, you then ship the product to the customer or the distributor, and then you've got to go back and work with your AR team, make sure that you're setting the right invoice up, make sure that you charge the right information. All of those things, to me, can be rolled into profitability. So it's not just about the cost of the product. And then the last, and probably the most important when we look at where we're going in the future, is digitizing the whole process. So from order flow to shipping, reducing errors, like I said earlier, everything needs to be done and more streamlined. And I think this is heavily beneficial for both the manufacturer as well as the end consumer or your partner that you're shipping to, because you're going to have a system of record. You're going to have a list of orders that have been in the systems from before. You're going to reduce the issues you have when you go to ship a product, because if everything is digitized, it all works together in one kind of hub and flows way more seamlessly. And then probably most important is you reduce the need for this massively chaotic ordering system. You have examples where when I was at Nike, we did a test and we ran an order through our B2B platform, and we did it through a customer, and we had the same customer also order the exact same product through the normal process. And we mapped out the whole thing. And the B2B order on a Monday morning, we submitted at 8 a.m., was in queue in our warehouse, at Nike's warehouse, by the end of day, and was shipping the next morning. And the order that was done the traditional way was sent to a sales rep, sent to a customer service rep, sent to the warehouse to check for inventory. Inventory was confirmed. And then there were 10 other steps, and then it shipped. The customer got the product that was shipped through B2B, I think it was Thursday afternoon of that week. The order for the non-B2B order wasn't even in the warehouse management system till Friday morning and shipped out the following week and even further down the road. So I think that chaotic ordering is probably one of the biggest benefits when you look at that space. I had a great example when I was a sales rep for Nike. Texas was my territory. Texas, Louisiana, and Arkansas. And I was driving into Houston, and anyone who's ever been to Houston or lives in Houston or has driven in Houston knows you cannot get to one side or the other very efficiently. You're going to run into some delays. So I was massively delayed. I had a deadline the next morning, and I had to get to a customer across town. I called him. I said, look, I'm going to be late. He said, great, no problem. So I literally went and we met belly up at a bar, and I showed him the product line. And I took the orders on the back of a bar tab. I asked our waitress to let me have it, and I wrote it down. And yes, there may have been a few beers and other things going on there. So water spilled on it, and I stuffed it in my jacket pocket, got on the plane the next morning in the airport, pulled a piece of paper out, called my customer service rep. And of course, the order's gone crazy, and I can't read how many units of the red shirt they wanted and how many of the gray. So, I think that example alone is such a unique way to look at the business, because making everything digital, you reduce all those errors, you streamline everything, and it makes it so much more efficient for both you and the customer at the end of the day.
Absolutely. Wow, you're very resourceful. And I'm sure if we polled folks on this call, they would also have some creative, fun, interesting ways that they too have received orders. So even if you don't have a napkin story, you you can still have order processes that are manual and all over the place. And as you said, a little chaotic, non-digitized. Recently, I was on a call with one of our customers who primarily sells to a huge network of resellers and distributors. Of course, each have their own pricing, which is very common. And these distributors place their orders by sending an email, picking up the phone, calling the rep, and a variety of other, some people still send faxes these days. And this company really wanted to go online, but they were hesitant to sell to this group of distributors because they sell the same product at a different price point per reseller. And there was a lot of potential channel conflict with other sales channels they were exploring. They were drawn to Inxeption because one of our key services is our Inxeption Easy Order. And we'll get a little bit more into this later, but it provides an order entry portal, simple, easy, and it can give those resellers or distributors a single place to place their orders online. As you said, Dugan, 24/7. We are all on our phones and computers, probably way too much. And it addressed the key needs that they did have because it handles the complexity of their products. So oftentimes those B2B products are more complex. There's variants, there's special pricing with that, there's different shipping methods. And it does support that customer specific custom pricing where each buyer then has a secure username and password, log into their account, they only see their negotiated pricing for their products. And then, of course, during the checkout, B2B transactions typically have different payment methods. So the solution supports support for purchase orders. Oftentimes, businesses are buying with a purchase order or other sort of financial mechanisms, such as maybe more of a financing, a buy now, pay later, or of course, yes, credit cards and ACH payments. So the solution handles all those. But what's really interesting is we started the conversation with them, helping them with their B2B order challenges. And it turned out they were also looking for a logistics partner. And when they heard that Inxeption also offers all mode logistics services, everything from parcel, LTL, full truckload to international, and we have a predictable, innovative pricing model, they felt it was truly a game changer. They loved that they had one place to sell online to their distributors, one place to execute all the transportation, which we all know is crazy and so volatile right now, and the ability to track those shipments, which, as you said, is so important in terms of the time to getting that product to the end customer. Ensure their shipments. And what's really cool now is we're talking to them about some of our other financial services offering to help them with some of their cash flow float needs. So again, all a great way, as you said, to advocate for these smaller businesses, helping them get digital so that they can thrive online. So if we look at, let's just dig a little bit deeper. And since now I talked about Inxeption's Easy Order, Dugan, I'd love it if you could just tell us a little bit more about the solution and the value it brings to this B2B selling process.
Yeah, I think Easy Order is probably one of the products I was most excited about when I came over to Inxeption. Because for me, if you were to boil it down to its simplest and most core value, it gives businesses the power to create and manage all of their own channels and their businesses all in one place. So at a bare minimum, managing channels, managing all products in one place, I think is really what it does and where the power is. Now, from there, you have a lot of great opportunities to do amazing things. As Jennifer mentioned, when you look at all your different channels of business, you have the ability to control things like unique pricing, unique assortments, unique follow-ups, unique catalogs. So if you think about a business, whether it's already got a D2C business or it doesn't, one of the most important things when you look at Easy Order is you have the ability to not erode or cannibalize any of the other existing businesses. And then also, as we've talked with some of our customers, there's always a unique nuance to some things that a business wants to do. Some companies have marketing affiliates, or they're putting up special event products or promotions or things. Through the Inxeption Easy Order platform, you can manage all of these channels separately with unique pricing, as I said earlier, unique product assortments. You can turn them on and off as you see fit. So think about something like you have a promo event or you have a marketing event out in the field, and all the customers that you get from that, you want to give maybe not your wholesale pricing, but you want to give them a discount because maybe they're in a special industry or something, or they're affiliates of some sort. You could stand up a channel that just gave them a 25% off of list price or MSRP, or 10% over wholesale. So all these different channels you can control. You can control who's in what. So if you had, a massive customer that's doing a huge volume, and they've got a very unique and specific pricing model, whether it be by product or whether it be at the invoice customer level, you can control all those metrics within Easy Order. And then, as I said earlier, you can also go in and test new channels. So if you've got something that you're not sure you want to do, a channel that you want to stand up, you can do it temporarily, turn it on, learn, expand and go from there, or shut it down and move on to the next thing. And I think what's unique also, as I said earlier, is the control of access for not only pricing, but products. So think about if you had like a new product coming out and you only wanted to sell it to one channel, or you wanted to give your marketing team advanced access to this product before you rolled it out broadly to retail. You could stand up a channel for just your marketing team as they're out in the field, and they could submit orders and buy this product. Or if you had a limited edition or discounts or closeout overruns, things like that, all these things you could say, I want this channel to have access to these discounts first because they're, our premier channel, or they're our most important group of distributors or customers. And then with a click of a button, you can scale it across the rest. So I think that's a huge one. As I said earlier, the 24/7 access thing, that is an absolute must-have. That's table stakes when you look at this business moving forward. Think about your more established and traditional sales methods with companies. Picture an office. Maybe it's the warehouse manager, maybe it's the inventory manager, the operations director, but he or she is out sick, and you need to know what's shipping where, or this customer called, wanted to know what's going on. And you go into this office and you see stacks of invoices and stacks of shipping ledgers. You have no idea where to start, what to do. It's all manually handwritten. Maybe this person doesn't have great handwriting like I don't. So even if you find the right piece of paper, you might not get all the info you need. Whereas with Easy Order, you can cater all your employees that need access to it, give them access so that if your shipping manager is out of town or on PTO or sick or whatever, anyone else can come in and get the same information and take care of your customer right there on the spot. And then some of the advanced features that we can offer through this platform are things like subscriptions. So you can automate the subscription process for your customers. So think about things like, filters for AC units. If you sell the main AC unit, you can set the customer up on a automatic subscription basis. So they're always getting that filter, when the manufacturer's guidelines suggest. Or if you have pieces of a product that wear out, so like the wheels of a swing arm on a conveyor, they only have X life cycle because they get used pretty frequently and they're plastic and they wear down. You can have a catalog within Easy Order that says, here are all your replacement parts for this product that you bought. So it's a really easy way for your customers to go in and not have to page through thousands of pages of SKUs and books and try and figure out, well, is this the one? And then if they order the wrong one, then you've got to do a return order and find them the right one. When you digitize all of it, you're saving all of that back and forth and making it so much more efficient for your customer. And then also look at complementary or follow-up sales. So think about something like a roof rack for your car. If you have a distributor that starts bringing in this product, you also want to sell them the complementary pieces. So in addition to the roof rack, let's look at this catalog of product. You got the snowboard attachment, the ski attachment, the bike attachment, the canoe attachment. All these things can plug into that same channel of business or based on that order. And then as Jennifer mentioned earlier, I think the flexible payment methods, a lot of these customers might not be on credit card basis with your company, so they might have POs, they might have channel or product tier discounts, so you can make all of those things happen through the payment portal when you go to check out for that order. And then at the end of the day, it's all connected back into the Inception ledger or the hub, where all of your shipping information is, where all your tracking data is, your history, your analytics, and even member user data. So when you look at the need for making decisions based on consumer buying patterns and data, you have all that information available to you in the ledger. And then absolutely last, but in my opinion most important, is the entire thing can be password protected. So it's all secure from the eyes of other channels of business that are maybe available. So think about your D2C customers, that are buying the product at wholesale. You don't want them to just be able to stumble onto your wholesale distribution website and see the discounted prices. So you can set it all up so that it's password protected, secure, safe from the prying eyes of Joe Public, which is amazing.
Thank you, Dugan. All great stuff. So let's check the chat. I know we're a little tight on time here, but let's check the chat and see if we have any questions from the group. Okay, Dugan. I see we have a handful of questions. Let's just take them in order here. First one is, I already have a B2C store. What are some of the key things to keep in mind as I move to selling online to these resellers or distributors?
Yeah, that's a great one. I think first and foremost, if you have a B2C store, we can also build you a B2C store. But if you're in an existing relationship with a partner that provides that business for you, we can integrate into almost all the typical B2C platforms that are out there and stand up a distribution portal that is complementary to your B2C site. The thought here is we don't want to take away business. So we can figure out how to make sure that we're not eroding or cannibalizing existing partners or channels, but at the same time give you the ability to stand up other channels that don't compete directly with that B2C channel. And as I said earlier, if you are unhappy with your current provider, we can also build you a B2C store.
Great. Okay. Next question is, how long is a typical implementation? Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, this is actually a really good one. And I have a one-word answer. It's fast. I'll go a little further on that. So when you look at your traditional software subscriptions in this space, or massive ERP or any kind of integrations that you're building into your infrastructure and your company, ours is not labor or capital intensive. When you look at some of these integrations, they can cost millions and millions of dollars when you look at enterprise rollouts across the board. They also require multiple people to be hired to shepherd these systems and processes through, and they can take, honestly, in some cases, and I have one example at Nike, I won't name the company, but it took 3 years to implement a product and a system, and Nike had to hire multiple people just to support that process. Now, without giving the exact number, because based on product and what we're doing and how many channels, it can vary a bit, but if you look at it this way, we work in hours and days, not months and years when we integrate these systems. But great question.
Okay. So it looks like we have a few more questions, but since we are out of time, we will just follow up with you individually on those. So just want to thank you all again for attending today, and Dugan, thank you for your time and sharing all this information with us. Very, very informative. Love hearing these real-world examples, from your past. So feel free, you see our contact information, feel free to reach out directly to Dugan or myself if you have any more questions. Here are our emails, or visit us always on Inxeption.com, or follow us on any of our social channels to learn more about the solutions we talked about, Easy Order, and any of our other B2B services, including transportation, logistics, and our financial services. So thank you all, and enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Take care.
Thanks, Jennifer.